Okay, let's get into the next series, shall we? And for the next series, I chose one that well, I've had this written on the board for a while. Um, I chose one that I think is going to be close. Close. The Capitals 49, 26, and 7 overall, 8 and 2 in their last 10. They won their last game. 259 goals for, 239 against. The only injury I could see on the one list I looked at was Beagle, although Oshie showed up as being day to day on TSN, so we'll see what happens there. Um, Season series is interesting. So Washington wins on December 2nd, 4-3. They win on February 6th, 3-2. February 9th, Washington wins again, 4-2. February 26th, Columbus beats Washington 5-1. So Washington has a 3-1 lead in the series. However, two of those games were by one goal. One of them was by two. It's not a blowout. The Capitals, of course, are loaded for bear. Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, and Wilson. Burakovsky, Backstrom, and Connolly. Vrana, Eller, and Smith-Pelly. Gersich, Stevenson, and Chason. Boyd's been called up on an emergency basis, according to what I was reading. And Oshie, we'll see where he plays if he plays. Um, Interesting to me, too, at the Capitals is they listed Kempny playing with Carlson. So Michael Kempny's getting a spot in Washington he wasn't going to get in Chicago. Orlov and Niskanen, or pick and juice. Um, Big fan of this guy. And Madison Bowie's been called up as well. Holtby and Grubauer. That's where things kind of get interesting. Things get really interesting with Washington when you get into the goaltending. But let's take a look at Columbus. 45, 30, and 7 overall. 6-2 and 2 in their last 10. They lost their last two. 242 goals for, 230 against. So only a plus minus of 12. Their goal differential's 12. Out, Sedlak, Foligno, Nudavara. So their lines go as follows. Milano, Dubois, and Anderson. Panarin, Wenberg, Atkinson, because I believe Wenberg, Atkinson, and Panarin were all held out as healthy scratches last game, which threw off the whole lineup I was looking at. Broadhurst, Jenner, and Vanek, Calvert, Letestu, Bjorkstrand, and for extras I have Robinson, Dubinsky, and Hannakainen. I would imagine Dubinsky gets into that lineup and Broadhurst comes out. I could be completely wrong. I'm aware of this. Just late in the year, they tend to make big roster switches for us resting healthy guys, and I think that's what they were doing here. Werenski and Seth Jones, Cole and Savard, Chorney and Johnson, Murray and Harrington. You've got 8 top 6 defensemen in Columbus. Very, very solid overall defensive depth. Kukan shows up on there as well, or Kukan. Bobrovsky and Korpisalo are the goaltenders to look at for Columbus. But there's some more to it than this. All right, let's take a look at the numbers. Power play 22.5% for Washington, 80.3% power penalty kill, and as with others I've done so far, 102.8%. I went ahead and put those two numbers together. If it's above 100%, it's effective. It's below 100%, it's not. For Columbus, a power play of 17.2%, which was at 13% not that long ago. Penalty kill of 76.2% for a total of 93.4%. And you have to ask yourself, how effective is their special teams going to be? Now, worthy of note here is this. So we've got all these numbers. Columbus made the playoffs this year. It's the first time ever in franchise history they made the playoffs 2 years in a row. They lost 4-1 to Pittsburgh last year. 2014, they were victimized by Pittsburgh. 4-2 in the first round. These teams may be able to talk about their pain together. Washington, 2017, they beat Toronto in the first round 4-2. Lose to Pittsburgh 4-3 in the second round. 2016, they beat Philly in the first round 4-2. They lose to Pittsburgh in the second round 4-2. 2015, they beat the New York Islanders 4-3. They lose to the Rangers 4-3. And in 2013, they lose to the Rangers 4-3 in the first round. The Washington Capitals are a team that looks great on paper and everything looks great during the regular season. And then for whatever reason, the postseason rolls around and it always manages to fall apart. Now, last year, going into the playoffs, I stuck with my preseason prediction. I said Capitals for the Cup. It didn't happen. For those who are just in their first year as a Canuck or as a fan of hockey, It didn't happen. And I say Capitals and Canucks interchangeable for whatever reason. You guys can figure that out. Ovechkin's the leading scorer in Washington with 82 games played, 49 goals, just short of 50. 38 assists, 87 points means that there was not a 50-goal scorer in the NHL this year, which bothers me on some level, but we'll get into that in another video. Kuznetsov, 79 games, 27 goals, 56 assists, 83 points. Backstrom, 81 games, 21 goals, 50 assists, 71 points. Carlson, 82 games, 15 goals, 53 assists, 68 points. Oshie, 74 games, 18 goals, 29 assists, 47 points, and Oshie signed for a long time. Eller, 81 games, 18 goals, 20 assists, 38 points. Wilson, 78 games, 14 goals, 21 assists, 35 points. And Orlov, 82 games, 10 goals, 21 assists, 31 points. And then in net, you've got Holtby with 54 games played, 34 wins, 16 losses, 4 overtime losses, 2.99 goals against, and a .907 save percentage. Grubauer, 35 games played, 15 wins, 10 losses, 3 overtime losses, 2.35 goals against, .923 save percentage. We'll come back to that. Columbus, leading scorer, Panarin, 81 games, 27 goals, 55 assists, 82 points. Turns out Kane needed Panarin more than Panarin needed Kane. Seth Jones, 78 games, 16 goals, 41 assists, 57 points. Thomas Vanek, who was acquired for bodies, 80 games, 24 goals, 32 assists, 56 points. One of the best years Vanek's had in a while. I'm going to throw that out there. Dubois, 82 games, 20 goals, 28 assists, 48 points. And Dubois got better as the season wore on. Atkinson, 65 games, 24 goals, 22 assists, 46 points. Bjorkstrand, 82 games, 11 goals, 29 assists, 40 points. Werenski, 77 games, 16 goals, 21 assists, 37 points. Wenberg, 66 games, 8 goals, 27 assists, 35 points. Wenberg probably won't be overly happy with his output. I think if Nick Foligno was in the lineup right now, he wouldn't be happy with the output he had this year either. And that's the dangerous thing. So you've got a Columbus Blue Jackets roster that's pretty solid all the way through. You can roll 4 lines, 4 really good lines, and you can have guys sitting out who are actually pretty good players. The blue line, same thing. You're going to have good blue liners who don't play every night. You look at Washington. Washington had to make some cost-cutting moves last year in the offseason because of the salary cap, and it affected their depth. Now we're in the playoffs where your depth is your lifeblood. They don't, to me, have the depth up front that Columbus does. On the blue line, I would also give Werenski and Jones the edge on Carlson and any of the other defensemen on that blue line. I know Niskanen's a good blue liner, but I would still say that, yeah, it's Savard, Cole, Johnson, Murray. It's a pretty good blue line for Columbus overall. Remember when Ryan Murray was drafted, he was supposed to be this big star defenseman. He hasn't turned out to be that, and they don't need him to be that. It's in goal. It's in goal that it's a very interesting game indeed. Braden Holtby coming out of last year's playoffs, there's a lot of people saying he's overrated. The Braden Holtby isn't that great. And this year, during the regular season, his stats have been pedestrian. Bobrovsky, very solid stats during the regular season, but Bobrovsky regularly seems to be out of gas in the playoffs. This is really hard to do any kind of a rating with, because I think Holtby's on a short leash. Grubauer could very well push him out of that job, but the team's record is better with Holtby in net than Grubauer. So does the team play better for Holtby? Is the defense weaker? Is Holtby just a victim of some really bad games that make his numbers look worse than what they are? Can Bobrovsky win a round in the playoffs? This is a battle between a team that's never won in the first round and a team that can't win in the second. So it's a battle of two teams that may have a fragile ego going into the playoffs. And I've stated jokingly it's the most American-looking series you can have. They're both red, white, and blue. There's stars and stripes on both. And I understand it's the Ohio flag for Columbus, but it's very patriotic looking. And I think it'll be a fun series to watch aesthetically. Special teams, the advantage goes to Washington. Depth, for me, the advantage goes to Columbus. Goaltending, I don't know. If Bobrovsky from the regular season shows up in the playoffs, then absolutely Columbus has the advantage there. Now, is Bobrovsky not great in the playoffs, or is it a matter of he keeps running into the Pittsburgh Penguins, who regularly tear goaltenders apart? And that's a key thing. To me, I think Bobrovsky is capable. I think Washington's going to have a difficult time continuing this into the postseason. They have 17 more goals than Columbus in the regular season. They've allowed 9 more goals than Columbus in the regular season. It's a very small difference between the two teams. 97 points here, 105 here. Who am I picking? It's a very good question. It would be easy to pick Washington. Washington normally fades in the second round. Look, first round win, first round win, first round win. Second round, they fall apart. First round loss in 2013. They haven't gone out in the first round since 2013. Any playoff they qualified for, they missed the playoffs in 2014. So when I look at this and I say, okay, with a war of attrition and just with depth, I'm favoring Columbus. I'm favoring Columbus in 6. And I understand that Washington is overdue for a run, and I understand that this may be Ovechkin's last great chance for a run, but I also understand that Karlsson is likely gone in the offseason if they can't afford to keep him, and all indications seem to be that he's gone at the end of the year. And that's a crying shame because they can't afford to lose John Karlsson from this blue line. They just can't. Washington can't afford to shed more depth. But the depth they lost last year in the offseason, I don't like looking at the third and fourth lines compared to what Columbus has. If we're going to say that the first and second lines are close to a draw, and Ovechkin himself and Kuznetsov probably weigh that a little bit in Washington's favor, the third and fourth lines weigh a little bit in favor of Columbus. The blue line's in favor of Columbus. And goaltending, again, if Bobrovsky can play like Bobrovsky during the regular season, he is the best of the goalies on the board. Korpisalo, I didn't bother listing because he didn't play that many games. And let's be honest, if the Blue Jackets have to go to Korpisalo, it's because they're losing the series. So, there you go. My pick is Columbus in 6. You guys can let me know your pick in the comment section below. Again, this is a tough call, though. This is a very, very tough series to call. I still have 4 more series to do previews for. But hey, thank you guys very much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through and you just happen upon this video. And yeah, I will talk to you guys again soon.